Hey, what's good with the YouTube? This is your boy Rojo. This is the Rojo Room, man. Today, as you can tell by the title, we're going to talk about the time that an NF member who was in good standings, but who was secretly cooperating, how he was able to utilize the regiment that I was in charge of to steal himself a kilo of work. It was a good one. So anyway, man, little back history. I get out 96, try to establish it. You know what I mean? I don't last too long. I had some stuff pending and I didn't stay on the streets too long, man. I met a few people, started getting things going. And, it was just slow. It was just real slow. Mostly due to my fault from not being able to stay on the streets too long because I was, I was, I was rowdy. You know what I mean? I was real rowdy. But anyway, man, I go do another little short term. I brought like 14 months or whatever. Hit the streets again. And on this time, I had happened to meet my boy, Mexican Mike, who a lot of you guys already know, some of you don't. When we talk about people moving work, he was he was the poster child. He was doing his thing. He'd been doing his thing since the crack era, and doing it on a high level, and basically was able to evade any kind of charges or anything like that for many, many moons. Come to find out, close to the end, we were all getting very close to being indicted and whatnot, but he was able to establish himself in the Bay Area and beyond as a major, major player, like major, major player. So I'm in Santa Rita on a little quick 30-day something, meet up with him, start talking to him. I didn't know who he was. I had never heard of him, but he was running the building where I was at. Well, automatically when I show up, I'm running the building. So I get at the homies. I'm like, hey, who's in charge here? And they're like, the homeboy next door, Mike. I'm like, well, get him to the door, man. Let me holler at him real quick. So you could talk through the doors in there. I get to talking to him. He knew who I was. And he lets me know what's going on and everything. I'm like, hey, go ahead and maintain control of the building. I'm here if you need me for anything, because he had everything running tip top shape. And I had no reason to, change anything that was there because it was functioning. It was Santa Rita was the county jail in for Alameda County. However, at the time, a whole section of it was for parole violators. So everything, depending on where you were inside of Santa Rita, it was being run just like a prison. You know what I mean? So nothing needed to be changed. Everything was functioning up to par. I didn't see anything that I needed to alter or nothing like that. Everybody was doing what they were supposed to do. Well, talking to the dude, he turned out to be really cool. You know what I mean? We talked to the door and I was just feeling what he was talking about. Still haven't seen him. We're talking through a metal door. And he just hit me up. He's like, hey, you doing good? You got some money on your books? I'm like, yeah, I'm all right, man. Thank you. He's like, well, send me your UGZ number and whatever, the PIN number. Mine was UGZ556. It's like, send me your PIN number, man. I'll get some money on your books. I'm like, all right, bro, if you insist, you know what I mean? Next day, 500 on the books. I was like, oh, 2 or 3 days later, another 500. I'm like, damn, this dude must really get it. Well, one of the youngsters in there was from Union City, Dakota, and he told me, he's like, man, that dude right there is dumbass rich. He's like the biggest homie baller there is. And I'm like, oh, is that right? And I knew he was a bro already. So I'm like, well, shit, I'm gonna holler at this dude and see if he wants to get it in, because we were both real short. He had a little bit more time than me. But I started hollering at him. He's like, man, when you get out, man, if you're trying to work, I got you. And I'm like, I'd never really been involved in that particular substance as far as the white people go fast type thing, right? And I was like, man, worst case scenario, whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. I was trying to do other things, man, but yeah, I'll talk to you, bro. So anyway, I get out. He hits me up a little while later. He had got out. And he's like, man, come on out here, man. Let's kick it, man. I go out there, chill with them, you know what I mean? The offer's still on the table. I'm trying to go other avenues at the time, but I was working this job, man, and I ended up getting well, I didn't get fired. The company fell. You know what I mean? So I started needing some dough. You know what I mean? And I hit him up. I'm like, hey, you know what's good, bro? Is that offer still on the table? He's like, man, come on out here, man. So I slid out to his mom's house. He laced me up with just like two little zips, because I didn't know people who did that. You know what I mean? Took me a week to get rid of it, 5 days to get rid of it. Came back out, got like 4. Took me same amount of time to get rid of it. Came back out, got like a P. It took me like 2 or 3 days to get rid of it. Came out, got me like 3. Took me like a day and a half to get rid of it, and it just started going from there. Because nobody could beat his numbers at the time. They were going for like 6 to 7. I was getting them for $32.50. He was getting them for less than that. You know what I mean? So I start grinding with them and whatever. We're knocking it dead, bro. I established so many different little towns with people I knew individually, you know, females, all kinds of stuff. And our attempt at riches was so multidimensional. It was insane, bro. I had never seen money roll like it was rolling. You know, it wasn't nothing to be going to pick up 50, 100, 150 here, 40, 20, 10, 15, 17, 20, all over the Bay Area. And so anyway, the point of this story is, you know, I got him in the regiment. I sent his name up to the Bay, got him basically on probation to make that step. And I'm somewhere, bro. I want to say I'm in Pittsburgh, and he hits me up. He's like, hey, Chavo just got out. And I'm like, okay, what's going on with him? And he's like, man, he got out and he's doing bad. He wants me to lace him up with some work. And I'm like, I hadn't heard nothing bad about him. You know, I sent a letter to Quentin immediately to see if anybody knew. But the only person that was there at the time was Zubiati. You know what I mean? And he hadn't done his whole stint in the Bay or nothing. So, you know, the information circle was limited. But as far as I knew, he was in good standings. And he had approached one of the homeboys like he was all good. You know, that, you know, usually if you're up to something, you're trying to be discreet. So I was like, man, throw him something. You know what I mean? He's like, he wants a whole bird. I'm like, well, what do you think, bro? What's your opinion? He's like, well, me and him are going to go there to the spot. He's just going to go in. He's going to make a few G's off it to get it, you know, in his pocket and whatnot. I'm like, well, I mean, it's up to you, bro. You have my blessing if that's what you're looking for, but go on ahead. So they take a ride. They're in Mike's truck, and they pull up to the spot in Oakland. You know, they're both real familiar with the East Bay. Mike's from Oakland. Chavo, I think he might be from Hayward. He's from right there, nonetheless. He gives Chavo a whole kilo. And Chavo's like, hey, I'm just gonna run in the house real quick. I'll be back out in a few minutes. They're funny about other people. Man, Mike thinks he's at the spot, so there's no reason to trip. Chavo knocks on the door. Somebody answers it. Everything seems above board. Well, the house was empty. The dude was one of his homeboys in on the fucking jack move, and they just go out the back door, bang some fences and some alleys, and they're gone. So Mike's out there about 10, 15 minutes, starts calling dude, no answer. Finally goes, knocks on the door, no answer. Looks through the windows, place has nothing in it. You know, and I can't remember if he had kicked in the door. I think he even kicked in the door just to confirm. And they were gone. You know what I mean? They pulled the okie doke. You know what I mean? So he calls me, bro. He's like, hey, you know, that dude just ran off with the whole woo-wop. And I'm like, how did he do that, bro? And he's like, man, the house he took me to where his people that he was supposed to be selling it to was vacant. And I'm just like, nice one, motherfucker. I put a green light on him immediately. I overstepped my boundaries a little bit because he's supposed to be an NF member and I'm supposed to get approval. I already knew, you know, you can't steal a kilo from a regiment. You just can't do it. So I put a green light on him. I'm like, anybody sees him, handle your business, you know, immediately. You know, and I filtered it through the whole community. I also shot word up to the Bay. I'm like, told them what happened, issued a green light. Green light came back confirmed. I got in a little trouble for doing it myself. I got a little lecture, but I didn't get in no trouble because it was the correct call, 100%. There was nothing that could be said, done, nothing. He stole the kilo from a regiment I was in control of. A person functioning under us with my blessing. You know, there was on probation as well to be a familiar. So come to find out, to make a long story short, that dude, Chavo, was already working with the FBI or somebody, one of them letters, you know what I mean? Providing information. He had been for like a year and nobody knew it. Like, cause he had been back down, he'd been in East Block and Quentin. And the whole time he was under their employment, you know what I mean? And nobody was the wiser. But he was still under employment with them people when when he ran off with the kilo. And it's like, in retrospect, you think about it and you're like, okay, well, he could have just came and said, hey, let me give you a couple grand down on a kilo. Mike could have gave him the kilo, and then them 3-letter boys could have came in and just ruined him. You know what I mean? But it worked out kind of good that he was just a dope fiend, you know, loser, and just wanted to steal it to get high and make money rather than do a controlled buy. You know, so you know, you make the best of something bad. You know, that's essentially what happened, man. But yeah, that dude disappeared, man, and it came out, you know, right after that he was cooperating, he was this, he was that. Well, we didn't know, man. We slid over to his house in Oakland, and we watched the house for like an hour. Went and knocked. You know, we paid a dope fiend to go knock, and nobody ever answered. So, man, we go into the house. We try to sit in there and wait for his ass. You know, we look through. We try to see if we could find the work or some cash or anything of value. There's nothing in there, man, except glass pipes and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So, excuse me. We sitting there for a couple hours, man. You know, 2, 3, 4 hours, just waiting for his ass, man, because we're gonna give it to him. He never comes back. I don't know if maybe one of his neighbors called him and said there's people in your spot, or he would just happen to be out of town, or he might have just, man, you get a whole bird, he might have just left his whole apartment and thought he was, you know, New Jack City or something, you know, somewhere cooking up some soda or something. I don't know. But he never showed back up, man. So we fucked this shit up, you know, took whatever little things we wanted. There wasn't much. We took all his prison pictures. He had like hella photo albums of prison pictures. We took all those, hella drawings. You know what I'm saying? Like, all right, fuck you, bitch. You know, that's all that was, because they ain't worth the shit. But we had albums and albums of prison photos, dope ass drawings. Shit, that's ours now. You know, it's no compensation for a key, because keys at that time were 18. But anyway, yeah, man, he was able to work his thing, man, and that's just because nobody knew he was telling. You know, he was still in communication with the right people at that point. You know, and I would have been the regiment commander for him. You know, I didn't even get a chance to talk to him, and I'm glad I didn't, man, because you know, I'm sure I was his number one assignment, you know, as far as making an arrest for the FBI, DEA, ATF, whoever. But his greed and dope feediness allowed him to rather steal than get somebody arrested. And it worked out for me. And I guess anyway, he ended up getting busted for some robberies or something in some rural area, Montana, North Dakota, something like that, robbing banks or something, man. But he was a real piece of work, man. He was telling for about a year before anybody knew. And fortunately, he was just a piece of shit. He couldn't be a gangster good, then he couldn't tell good, and you know, he stole pretty good though. He was a sneaky little bastard. That was a nice little plan, you know, no reason to suspect anything. And he got us. You know what I mean? Did it affect us? Zero. You know, there was way too much going on, bro. That was just like a, all right, motherfucker. That was one of those like, okay, nice. You know, if we see you, it's over. You know what I'm saying? It was over. You know, but yeah, Anthony Chapel Jacobs, man, he pulled a fancy one on us, man. But you know, we were doing so much, bro. Like I said, man, between the white folk stuff, the Colombian stuff, organizing events, little businesses, you know, other things that, you know, I'd rather not say. it was a drop in the bucket, man. But it was just the fact that, man, this dude's supposed to be an all good NF member, and he just got us for a key. Like he didn't give a damn about any consequences, you know, but he was protected. He was hiding. I mean, it is what it is. Anyway, little story about NF member stealing from the NF. That's a crazy one, bro. I still trip on that one, man. You should have seen Mike's face when I seen him. He was like, he was super butthurt, and I'm just like, hey, it happens, brother. You know, you gotta roll with the punches, man. It's your boy Rojo. This is the Rojo Room. Have a good day, man. Appreciate y'all.